Hello, friends. So happy to have you here with me today at Radical Joy. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time with me, well, I'm glad you're here. Each week, I'm here with you talking to myself about things that weigh on my mind and heart, hoping if you're dealing with something similar, we can adjust our perspectives as you listen. Hey, if you're struggling with something that needs immediate attention, please know that help is available. Just dial 988 nationwide in the U.S. to reach the Mental Health and Suicide Crisis Hotline. All of us here at CLW Studios believe that mental health is a vital part of our well being. The more people I meet and the more places I go, the more I realize how important it is to make people aware of the fact that there is no shame in enjoying the parts of our lives that are incredible. It's time for some radical joy. And this week, the three fingers pointing back at me are for circumtranslation. Tell me that's not a 50-cent word, huh? There's got to be an SAT study guide out there somewhere with that word in it. How fantastic and delicious a word is that? Let's just take a look at it for a second. Circumtranslation. Look at the word circum. The word that comes to mind is circumnavigate. For anyone and everyone else out there, I know that I'm 4951. Circumcision/circumnavigate. Yes, 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 yes. Honestly, it has a very similar definition and root. It is going around. It is literally encircling. Circ includes that round sound or sign or indication. Circumtranslation, the second part of that word, translation, to take it from a foreign language to make it into something that is familiar, something known. Circumtranslation. And I love this word. It just came across my desk and I was like, wait. Does this word means what? Does it mean what I think it means? Let me just put it in the handy dandy dictionary.com. And sure enough, what it means, in case you haven't figured it out already, is that whenever you are trying to translate something from perhaps a foreign language to one that is more familiar, if you cannot conjure the specific word that you need in order to make, like, say, the German word equal the English word, you explain your way around it in order to get the idea or meaning of the succinct single word or phrase you want. I love this idea so much. I have used it on so many occasions, I cannot even begin to tell you. If there's a word on the tip of my tongue that for whatever reason will not materialize, refuses to enter the word bubble, I will circumtranslate the ever-loving bejesus right up out of it, even though I'm still in my mother tongue. I know the word I want. It lies just outside my grasp, and so I must use more words to describe what it is I'm trying to convey. And though that is not the most efficient way of going about it, it is still wildly effective. Something I love about learning a foreign language is the fact that in cases of conversation in perhaps a second language, the wording is much more efficient. If someone wants to tell you something, the need for sugarcoating is much, let me give you more, much lower. The idea must be expressed and it needs to be efficient. Why? Well, because maybe the mastery of the language isn't quite what they would want, yet the crux, the kernel of this idea is so important. So they communicate it in such a way so that, aha, yes, I can still tell them this, and I will watch their face to see if perhaps I have communicated it clearly and or perhaps harshly, because I did not know the words to soften it in case it's one of those situations. And I love this idea because even though we may be communicating in our mother tongues among one another, it's one of those things where it's so important that we continue to remember that in case you cannot think of the exact word or phrase, we can, in fact, weave something around that idea so that it sort of cradles it while still delivering it to our audience so that they know where we're coming from, what we're trying to communicate, and perhaps, though not the most efficient delivery method, it still communicates. And that is important. That is a crucial part of building relationships and strengthening bonds that already exist, to make sure that the idea that you're giving is also, just in case it's not the most clear, that you can continue to sort of embellish around it in a way so that it becomes clearer, or at least something more palatable, so someone will be willing to stay with you in the conversation until you've gotten the idea across. Now, in the year of our Lord 2025, it is no surprise that many people are finding out that they're dealing with shortened attention spans. Now, whether that is due to social media or perhaps ADHD or any number of other type situations, whether diagnosed or not, a lot of times I think many people continue to use their words to be better understood, because I think that's another huge issue that we have among people, whether it's just getting to know one another or knowing each other for years. Sometimes we can be very fully misunderstood, even among our closest. Now, the good news is, in the tightest relationships, we often get several chances to make sure that our audience understands us exactly as we intended. If you're really on good terms with someone, they will probably bring it to your attention. Hey, you said this to me, and though I think I know where you're coming from, it seemed a little harsh. Perhaps we could revisit this, or maybe you could put it in a way that I didn't find quite so abrasive. Yeah, is that good? Great. I'm not trying to make a problem. I'm just trying to tell you that the way that I interpreted it was not my favorite, especially from someone I hold in as high esteem as I do you. So let's revisit this, perhaps reframe it and chit chat about it. Doesn't have to be a big thing. I want to make sure you know that this is not my preferred method of communication. And the way that you put it is, this is the way I took it. Is that the way you intended it? Because I don't love it. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. I get that. I really, really do. And two, I don't think a lot of us are very well equipped to handle confrontation. And I'm raising my hand for this just so we know that I'm talking directly into the camera, into the teeny tiny picture of myself that I see moving face and wiggling around with the cans on my head. This is something I do not love. I am improving because I am conscious of it and will continue to work on it so that I can do this. What boggles my mind is that I think the forecast or prediction of the confrontation is usually like 11,000 times worse than the actual bring it to the table, talk about it like friends and grown-ups so we can reach an understanding and move forward. Now, is that going to happen every time? No, it is not. If that has ever been clearer, I don't know about it, because this is one of those things where I think a lot of miscommunication is going on because many people take a very strong stance on something and any questions are seen as conflict. Please understand there is a huge difference between asking a question for clarity and asking a question getting ready for a fight. Okay? I think it's interesting that a lot of people will understand that asking a question for clarity comes across as an attack because perhaps they're not necessarily entirely sure of where they stand on the situation. And because of that insecurity in their stance, when someone starts to poke at it or pick at it, perhaps they feel just a little exposed. They don't know how they can defend it 100%. I get that. I am so guilty of that. I will jump in the middle of something thinking I know exactly where I stand and I know enough about the situation or the topic so that I can stand on that opinion. And the longer I talk about it with my smarter, better informed friends, colleagues, loved ones, the more it becomes clear that perhaps a little more homework is necessary. We're going to go right back to an idea that I continue to focus on and love. I want to be really good at being wrong. Holler out, Seth. Love you, buddy. The more I dwell on that, the better it gets. It seems like a really good superpower to have. There's no shame, there is no wrong in realizing that perhaps where you started is not where you need to end or where you need to be at this point in the journey to continue on a good road. Okay? Wonderful. Great. I can admit that. Perfect. When we flip that coin, because you know I'm going to, whenever it is incredibly clear, I mean like crystal clarity, that where I stand and what I'm doing is basically infallible, doesn't happen much. I'm saying that right now, getting ahead of whoever wants to holler. It does not happen often. It does happen. It's going to be very difficult for someone to come in there and talk to me about something that is clearly not it. Well, Bullard, this sounds kind of juicy. What in the world could you be talking about? Ooh. I was like, okay, great. We continue to come back to the questions of this administration, the way the things that they're trying to carry things out. All right, great. The same folks who tell me that the Second Amendment is sacrosanct, can't be touched, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, great. They would scream the house down if they thought that one group of people was ready to do that to gun toters. And we flip that script and put it on the our side. So for whatever reason, that all of a sudden is just like, well, if he did it, he's got a good reason. Um, okay. I don't see that. I really don't see it. And that may not be the best example, and probably hackles are rising all over earshot of the sound of my voice right now. And I'll be honest, I've got no hoots to give for it, just so we're clear. I continue to see things where people will scream the house down from one point of view. The exact same situation will come from a different room in the house, and it's all wine and roses, and I don't get it. I do not get it. And in an effort to figure it out, I will continue to ask questions until I know that that discussion is not made in good faith. And then you might as well open the door, because if you don't, I'm going to be leaving through either the door that you made in the house or the hole that is shaped remarkably like me as I exit. I ain't got no more time for it. Well, that doesn't seem very tolerant. That doesn't seem very nice or pleasant. No, it sure doesn't. It's one of those things where you continue to offer and you continue to want to meet people in the middle, and you want to continue to have discussions in good faith, in a severe and sincere need to connect. And we did it for years. And it wasn't until somebody got their own hiney stuck in a trap of their own voting and choosing that they actually wanted to come to the table to discuss. Great. Consult the notes from the umpteen other conversations we have had on this topic. And that comes back to the whole idea of circumtranslation. We've talked about it. What I could literally do is number those conversations 1 through 27. And instead of hashing it out all over again through frustration and tears and hair pulling and anger and hollering, I'll just say number 14. Go back through your notes and go back to that one. Great. Well, no, I want to talk about this. Oh, I understand that. And there was a time when we could have talked about this where it was preventative instead of curative. And now we are standing at the edge of the surgical table, where if you had only just not drunk the poison, this is not something we'd have to discuss right now. Neither here nor there. It's been done. It is. The thing I do not want to do now is talk about it after the fact. It is too late. Too late for talking. Too late for talking, because we've already gone past the point of action. The action has been done. Steps and consequences are currently unfolding. And now somebody wants to talk about it when all we can do is mourn. And I just don't really have it in me. We can talk all the way around it. The thing is, this is a different kind of circumtranslation. We're talking around something where we all know that the center, the very succinct word or phrase, is I done went and screwed it up. Correct. However, In order to continue some sort of discourse, we can't say that because even though I think it is very clear, I think that it is very well known and abundantly obvious. Talking about it now, after the fact, now that the consequences uh, part of the program is in full swing, it's like, why? Right? Why are we talking about this now? Now we are mourning the effects of our actions instead of trying to figure a way to prevent it. That time has passed. And the look on my face right now seems a little contemptuous. I would apologize if I was sorry, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, ooh, that's not a pretty face. It's not because it it was one of those things where we were screaming, hollering, begging, pleading, please don't do this. Your problems with her pale in comparison to what we have already seen from him. Please don't do this. I understand your position on it. You've made it so clear. Congratulations. Like, this is not any kind of gray area for you. What I'm saying is, what you say you want, running parallel to the person you think is going to deliver it, those don't jive. Okay? And now we're here. And this is what it is. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's so funny that now that things are finally starting to come home to roost, that consequences are starting to materialize in the backyards, in the back seat, up the nose of people who did not expect to see any of this. Oh, got it. Understood. It breaks my heart to think. Now, I'm not accusing. Before anybody gets their hiney on their shoulders, I need you to understand this. This is not an accusation. This is what I have literally heard floating around the internet in conversations, in recordings, etc. That empathy is one of those things we need to eradicate because that is making the country weak. Friends, you could not be more wrong. If your hiney was on your shoulders and surgically implanted there. Incorrect assumption. Cheese and rice, you could not be more wrong. And if that makes you mad, tough. Go to church about it. Pray, because you can bet your bottom dollar this is one of those infallible things I will not budge on. This is the thing. The more capable you are of putting yourself in the shoes of others, in the life of others, and looking at how their life unfolds, plays out, continues day after day, the more likely you are to be able to open your heart and mind to more diverse topics, to larger ways of thinking, and you will continue to build and grow on that. And if that makes you upset or makes you think that I'm some kind of insert terrible name, derogatory, blah, blah, blah here, stick it on me. I'll take it. I didn't put it there. You did. And I have big enough everything that I can tote that sticker and never think twice. It's just one of those things where I think that we need to look a little bit more closely at the way we're using our language. And before we're ready to stick something on it and dismiss it, I think we need to be just a little bit more mindful. And I know that's hard. That's asking a lot. It's asking a lot, not just from people and where they stand. It's also asking a lot of people and their time and bandwidth, emotionally and otherwise. It's a lot. I get it. I make no apology for it. What I do is I want to come here to this platform where my voice is amplified and in front of people that says it's worth your time and effort. Please do that. The way that we've been thinking and speaking over the last decade, 20 years, however long we want to put a thing on it, it continues to harshen. Is that a word, harshen? That's what I'm going to use right now. It continues to get harsher. It gets more abrasive. It gets more certain that someone is standing from a position of correct. Instead of asking the question, in my need to be Right. Who gets hurt? How many of those people getting hurt is worth me standing on this with zero flexibility? There's a phrase that I remember growing up, and I still hear it. If you have to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. Wonderful. That's a really great idea in concept. The closer you look at it, and the farther you zoom out in both directions, zoom in, zoom out, the more you realize that that's great to a point. You've got to have a pivot point. You've got to have a spot where this is the thing. This is the constant. I can't move this. If I do, the whole thing moves with it. And now that I've said it out loud, that I've breathed reality into it, sometimes that has to happen too. Because the point where all other parts of our personality and uh, our philosophy and our way of living rotates, if that is our middle point. It's literally like the thing on the compass. That's like the pointy part that you stick on the paper before you circle with the pencil snub. Snub, you're welcome. Sometimes that has to move. Sometimes you got to move it on your paper to make sure that you don't go off the paper while you're drawing your circle. Sometimes you're not dead center with that pointy part, so you've got to reassess. You've got to measure where you put that pointy part, where that one focus lies. Because sometimes that pencil snub is going to go off the paper. And then what do you got? You got a wonky circle's what you got. You've got a way that people can look at your circle and see that it either falls off the paper, or now, instead of it being a perfectly round, beautiful 360-degree drawing of something with a pointy part and a snub of a pencil, you've got a curve and a couple of edges. Now, my question is this: what's worse, to think about those as flat parts of your circle, or the fact that somebody's going to fall off your paper? I don't know the answer to that question. I just think that I think I want to give you as many visuals as I can, so that while we're talking about these things and listening and hopefully having an imaginary chit chat back and forth, which of those do you think has the largest consequences, the most dire? Right? Because a circle, if you practically apply it, like let's say a wheel or a hula hoop, and you try to roll that sucker, if it's a circle, even just a little bit of a wonky circle, it's going to roll pretty well. If your pointy part is not in the middle of your paper, or the arc of your pencil snub is just a little bit too large, it's going to roll off that paper. And if you cut it out and you try to sort of make it into something that will either roll or it won't, that sucker ain't gonna go far. Now, if you get enough force behind it, sure, it'll roll. Will it roll anywhere near as far as a perfect circle would? No, of course not. I mean, that's just good old common horse sense, right? Pardon me. Horse sense. I'm going to remove that adjective common from it right here, right now. It ain't. Tain't common no mo. And I ain't got no problem removing that. That's just another sticker that we cannot use on every example of the word sense. We just can't do it because it's not anymore. Which, great. Operating under the assumption that it's not common any longer will save us a whole lot of heartache in the long run. Jeez Louise. So, circles, compass, pointy part, pencil snub, back to circum. Circle, circumtranslation. Great. We talk around. If we can't get to the middle of it, sometimes we have to talk around. And may I ask a favor? Because this is, I think, one of the things that really irritated me the most. Irritated is right. In order to include more people, this frustrated me the most when trying to talk about these sort of things with people with very opposing viewpoints. You would talk and you would talk and you would talk, and the distance between your belief system and their belief system would grow smaller and smaller and smaller. And just about the moment that those two fingers came together in order to pinch and make that connection so that you're both on the exact same page, someone would reset. It is very, very easy to do that. Why? Well, because you just got too close to changing my mind. Well, yes, Mildred, that was the point from the very beginning of this conversation. You came in here trying to change my mind with your bullshit and your whatever, and I showed up with all of the backup and the evidence and this, that, and the other. And it's really hard to stand on bullshit whenever somebody shows you the numbers because they don't lie. They don't. And now people going to prickle and sparkle and fizz and pop and some more. It's like, great. Do it. By all means, do all of that because I need you to understand if you are listening to this and you're still one of those people, we have the lid to that skillet. So even though your sizzle and your pop continues to blow and tries to get on us and burn us and scar us and make a problem, we got the lid. Bloop, we put it on top. Because you can continue to fizz, and it's not necessarily going to put out the fire. What it is going to do is protect the rest of us from the danger you pose. I hate to put it that way. I don't like thinking adversarially at all. Life would be so much better if the rest of us could all come together. The time for that, I fear, is behind us for the moment. For the moment. Because as long as people continue to support things like genocide and deportation and all these other kind of things, or insisting that everything is cool as long as you came here the right way, and then they continue to be deported even after they came in the right way, continue to live and do well and pay taxes and do all of the things that everybody said they needed to do in order to stay, and they still get sent to subhuman living conditions. No due process. No chance, hope, end date of this unbelievably inhumane treatment that we have seen, though they have tried their best to hide. We have nothing to talk about on this. Infallible. You cannot circumtranslate this because where we stand and from what we see, any attempt and trying to make that appear reasonable or the proper or right way of going about it, you might as well just save your breath. Might as well, because all I hear is the Peanuts teacher. Wah, 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 wah. Not to mention the fact that for every phrase that comes from your mouth in defense of this, my respect for you continues to drop. Can you get it back? Of course you can. Nothing like that is permanent. Apologies, doing better, stronger actions, more well-informed actions, more empathetic feelings, discussions, and actions can rebuild that capital that you have lost. Just like the stock market. Man, we lost trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Will it come back? It's possible. It most certainly is. What you got to do is stop acting the friggin' fool so that the conditions to build it back will be met so it can. Identical situation. You cannot act the fool and expect everyone to treat you like Einstein. No. If you are wearing the big collar, carrying around the bicycle horn, face painted white with the little red circles on each cheek and the fluffy spongy nose, chances are good we're not going to treat you like the same as we would the professor with the elbow patches, pipe, and bifocals. You need to understand what it is you're coming to the table with. And don't be surprised whenever the costume you wear gets the reaction it warrants. There. Circumtranslation. Talking around it or driving right through it. It's just as simple as that. You can try to dance around the thing. And here's another fun part about that. While you try to describe it in your language, or you try to figure it out or make words so that it makes the donut instead of the donut hole, if you're lucky, and I think we all are, I think we're all lucky to have somebody in our circle that whenever you're trying to do the donut, they can come across with the hole. Oh, Yeah, the word you're looking for is this. I love when that happens to me. I have several friends that will do that to me. My buddy Shane does that occasionally. He'll text me. He's like, "This is what I'm thinking. This is the idea of it. What's the word?" And I'll text him the word. He's like, yes, yes, that's it. Perfect. Here's the problem. There are those of us that are speaking the donut, and their hole is directly the opposite of what they're looking for. We got to be so careful of that. Well, people should get here and they should do it legally and they should do this and this and this and this and this. And yet they still continue to pull for an administration or a method of enforcing immigration that goes exactly opposite of everything they say they want. Friends, we are not blind. We are not stupid. And calling it out doesn't make you harsh. It makes you smart. And for those who are on the other side of that conversation, who continue to talk in the donut expecting a different whole, friends, I don't know what to tell you. Go with God. Bless your heart. Pucker up, buttercup. It's about to get rough and tumble. And don't be surprised when it comes for you. Not a threat. Not at all. I'm just trying to prepare people because I think a lot of people have received this and they continue to deny it. And I'm just like, baby girl, uh, Sonny boy, here's the bit, and everyone in between. This is what happened because this is the vote, and you can either rail against it or you can continue to quote unquote support it until it shows up in your backyard. Okay, good luck. I wish you well. Oh my gosh, please understand. I wish all of us well, including the current administration and leadership. I'm not so foolish to think that wishing for his failure would not result in failure for all people under his leadership. Okay? Not doing that. What I am going to say is, I think he ain't doing a sporty job of it where he could be very, very easily. Said it. No apologies. Said what I said. I love the time we get to spend together. Thank you so much for joining us here on Radical Joy. If this is your first episode, welcome. So happy you're here. Hopefully, our message of circumtranslation was something that you could relate to, something that resonates with you. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. So happy you're here with us again this week. If you're the kind of person who loves to write a review, we welcome any and all, especially those of 5 stars. Please go to whatever platform where you're listening and leave us a 5-star review. Take a screenshot of that. Send it to us so we can send you some kick-ass swag. More than likely, it's going to be a sticker from here at Radical Joy. You can put it on a water bottle, a journal, a laptop, anywhere you love to stick a sticker. We would love for you to have one. So in that way, you can let everybody know where it is you tune in every week for just a little bit of kick in the seat of the britches to make sure that we take no shame in enjoying the parts of our lives that are incredible. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. James Bullard and CLW Studios always want you to remember, we love y'all.